Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Paul Hutchings with another episode of The Good Parts. I think I'm on episode 80 today. This is a daily social media show where I go live Monday through Friday, right around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to share one good part from my life and or business, all in an effort to help you and me create the best lives we can create, which hopefully will include freedom, disconnecting our time from our money, happiness, joy, prosperity, impact, a sense of contribution, a sense that our lives have mattered, great meaning. All these things that I'm just mentioning to me are good parts of life. And I think they're worthy of striving for. They're worthy of talking about when we find them. And so that's part of the theme behind this show. So if that resonates with you, you might want to tune in. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you something a little personal. As I wrote in the description, yesterday morning was Sunday morning, and I woke up with a feeling that I was really failing in a really important aspect of my life. And so I did something about it. And I'm going to be talking about that in today's episode. And I think today's episode can be really valuable for a whole bunch of different groups of people. If you're a parent with kids, I think today's episode can be really, really valuable for you. But also, even if you're just someone who wants to get the most from life and you don't want the moments and the minutes and the seconds of your life to be stolen from you right before your very eyes without even knowing it, instead, you want to get the most from life. If you're one of those people, I think today's episode can be very valuable for you. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about a letter that I wrote to my sons, and I'm going to read this letter for you. And I'm excited about it because, as I also wrote in the description, I don't think I'm the only one that struggles with this thing. This thing is a new thing. All throughout the generations before today's day and age, our ancestors did not have to struggle with this thing. But all of a sudden, we find it in our lives. It's there. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. And so that's the topic. So I'm excited. If you're here today live, tuning in, let me know down below, like Gregory Napier did. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Gregory. I appreciate you so much for being here. And if you're watching the replay, also, if you would do me a big favor and let me know. So I'm going to jump right into it after I tell you a quick little joke. So I was out at my in-laws yesterday, and my sister-in-law said, "Did you know that Yoda has a last name?" And I thought, I was like, Yoda from Star Wars has a last name? And I thought, and I was like, no, I didn't know that. I couldn't think of Yoda's last name. And my sister-in-law said, yeah, it's Yoda-le-hee-hoo. So in case you didn't know, there you go. Yoda's last name, Yoda-le-hee-hoo. All right. So funny little thing to start the message. Okay. So back to the message. So I started to notice in my kids some time ago that they were stuck in their smartphones. They had their faces stuck in their screens many moments throughout the day. And the day before yesterday, there were several times that I walked into one of my son's rooms and he was laying on his bed, just staring at his phone. And this, repeated, all throughout the day. And while this was happening, I was also noticing that he wasn't getting really anything done. He wasn't in a happy state of being. He didn't look like he was feeling great about himself. And so I started to think about this. Hey, Booker, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. And I've noticed this in all of my sons. There have been times as a parent where we'll call our sons' attention and ask them to do something, and it's like they don't even hear us. And then when it seems like they hear us, they just ignore. And so I started to get really concerned about this and realizing that I have been failing in helping my kids to understand the dangers of wasting your time and being stuck in smartphones. And so yesterday morning, I went to bed thinking about this, and I woke up, and that's what was causing me to, feel like a little bit of a failure. And so while my family was sleeping, I came out to my office and I wrote a letter, and it starts, "Dear Sons." And I want to read this letter to you. Here is the letter. I'm going to share my screen so you can read along with me if you want. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit and share a couple of other ideas and insights as we go through this. So it says, "Dear sons, I am writing you this letter because I'm concerned. You guys know I've been talking to you lately about screen times. Well, yesterday I checked my own screen time and it was 8 hours and 36 minutes. I realize these phones are a challenge we all have, but it's not the phones I'm worried about. If life has a purpose and we're supposed to do things while we're here on this earth, staring at our phones for 6 to 10 hours per day means we're not doing those things we're supposed to do while we're here. That's the real problem with being so addicted to our phones. When I was your age, I did not have a father to teach me. As you know, he left when I was 8. You guys have a dad, but if I'm not teaching you the things that have helped me in life, then it's almost like you have no dad too. Thankfully, your mom and I have already overcome some of the bigger financial challenges that we all face in life. You boys still have that ahead of you. I want you to be successful and I want you to be happy. I want you to be strong men who do good things in the world and are proud of who you are because of those good things you do each day. I want you to have plenty of money to live in a way that makes you happy and brings you all the things you need, like a nice home to live in, safe cars to drive, food to eat, and money for providing a good life for you and your future families. None of these things just happen automatically. Most of the people in the world struggle in these areas. There will always be challenges in life, but the type of men you become can make those challenges far less than they are for most people. But that is a choice. You have to decide what kind of man you want to be and then work hard to become it. One of the biggest lessons I want you to learn is that your financial success in life is a result of how useful you are to other people. We all naturally want to do things for ourselves, but if we don't learn to do things for other people and ourselves, we will struggle in life. Learning to be useful to other people is something that takes work, study, sacrifice, and time. It's not something that just happens. Doing only the things you want to do is easy. It doesn't require any work, sacrifice, or effort. I think one of the biggest problems with these phones is they make it so easy to pass so much time focusing on the wrong things, the things that won't bring us true success and happiness in life. Another thing that I would love for you boys to learn is how to have strong faith in God. With a real faith in God, without a real faith in God, life has little to no foundation. If there is no God, then there is no purpose to life. And then it doesn't matter what we do with our time every day. If God exists, then there must be purpose to why we're here. If that's true, then it must matter very much how we invest our time every day. Do we waste it and squander it in ways that provide no real value to ourselves or other people? Or do we use our time wisely so we can be a blessing to ourselves and other people and enjoy success and happiness in life? As you grow older, there will be many challenges to your faith in God. There will be many very good arguments and reasons to not believe that life has a purpose and God has a plan. It will be the work you put in beforehand, the study, the thought, the reading, the prayer that will prepare you for being able to withstand these challenges to your faith and give you the strength to press forward, living life in the best way. I want to help you because I love you. And I want to be a dad that is here for you and can help you prepare for the challenges of life so that you can be the men that God wants you to be. Of course, I'm not perfect and I don't know all the answers, but I feel like we can help each other be the best men that we can be. What kind of a man do I want to be? Is there a difference between a good man and a bad man? And if so, what's the difference? What does it take to be a good man? What does a good man do with his time? How can a man be happy? How does a man lead his family in the best way? How does a man find success and happiness in life? I think these are all very important questions that are worth thinking about and seeking answers to. Again, I hope you understand that I never want to make any decision to punish you or make your life miserable. I want to make decisions that help you create the best life, and I don't want to fail as a father. In some ways, I think I am failing, and it makes me sad to think about it. The good news is we can always change and be better. And this is why this morning I put all the phones in the safe, mine included. I figure as a start, we can stay off the phones at least for the morning and until later on today. What can we do with our time that might be better for ourselves and our futures than staring at the screen of a phone from the moment we wake up until we drift off to sleep? This is the answer I want to find the best answer for. I have some ideas, but I'm open to your ideas too. One thing is for sure, I feel like we all have to do better. I'm starting with this letter. I love you, Dad. And so I read that letter to my kids yesterday morning. And I woke them up. We sat around the kitchen table. I sat them down and I read that letter to them. And and we had a conversation, and there was there was some pushback. Some of my kids thought there should be no limits on these phones. We should be able to just use them and be smart with them ourselves. And we talked more and more, and the more and more we talked, they gave me ideas. I wrote the ideas down. The more we talked, the more they seemed to understand. And so we spent most of the day yesterday without phones. There were a few periods where I would pull them out and reward them. We got home from church. I said, "You guys want your phones for a little bit before we go to Grandpa and Grandma's house?" They said, "Yes." So I gave them their phones. And then before we left Grandma and Grandpa's house, they said, "All right, let's turn all the phones in." A little bit of pushback, but they did it. Went out to Grandpa and Grandma's house, spent the time out there, got home, gave them their phones for a little bit, said, "Hey, I'm going to come take the phones at 10 o'clock. Okay, Dad." And last night when I went in to take their phones at 10 o'clock, there was no pushback. They just all turned in their phones. They didn't yell at me. They didn't argue with me. They just turned them in. And this morning when I woke up, we charged the phones overnight, and then I put them all in the safe, and I wrote a list of, I called it productivity list. And the idea is that, when my kids wake up, hopefully they're awake by now. It's 9:30 here in Idaho. But if they want their phones, I want them to look at this list and look at things they can do that are productive. And then when they do those productive things, we can reward them with their phone time. And yesterday at church, one of the lessons, we had an hour where they had this family therapist come in and teach for an hour. This guy's been a family therapist for his entire career. And it was on mental health was the topic, and depression, and what can you do if you find yourself depressed? What can you do if you notice people are struggling? So on and so forth. And we were all sitting there as a family, and I said, "Hey, should I ask him what he thinks about smartphones, what their effect is on mental health?" And one of my sons, Camden, says, "Yeah, go ahead, Dad, see what he says." So I raised my hand and I said, "In your experience with mental health and counseling and dealing with people, what effect, positive, negative, neutral, would you say smartphones have on a person's mental health?" And he smiles and he said, "It's terrible." He said, "It's terrible." And I don't think my kids were expecting that. But he said, "It's terrible." And he gave a good answer. As part of his answer, he said, "Many of us in this room, we like to consider ourselves disciples." And he said, the root word of disciple is discipline. And he said, one of the big problems with smartphones is that they really destroy our ability to be disciplined because they're so addictive. They just suck us in. So much time can go by. And he said, that's a danger. And then he also was talking about how kids have half a brain. And what he was meaning was that kids, their brains are not fully developed. And when we got home, we were talking about this, and one of my sons was like, "Well, that's not true, Dad. Like I'm such and such age. I'm almost an adult." And I said, "Well, let's look it up." So I got on Google and I said, "What age is a person's brain fully developed?" And it was 25 years old. So all of that to say that this counselor is making this point that if we as adults struggle with this, kids, they almost have no chance at all because their brains are not fully there. They haven't had all the life experience, and they can just really get sucked into this, and it can steal and destroy their entire lives. And I call this a seemingly innocent mistake because what's the harm? Looking at your phone, scrolling TikTok, spending 3 or 4 hours on social media, chatting with people. What's the harm? It seems innocent. You're not out there doing any harm. Well, back in my religious studies from my younger days, I remember reading about an idea called sins of omission versus sins of commission. And this isn't a religious, piece of content. One definition of sin that I like is just something that stops your progress. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's kind of like, a person's damned. What does that mean? Well, a dam stops water in a river. So if we do these things that are not good for us, what happens? Our progress is stopped. I think that's a healthy way to look at, sin. Well, a sin of commission is something you do that's negative, that maybe harms someone. And a sin of omission is something good that maybe you could have done or should have done, but that you didn't do because you were too lazy, you weren't paying attention, you were distracted with something. That would be a sin of omission, or in other words, something that stops your progress that you didn't actually go do, but you just didn't do the good thing that you could have done. And I think these smartphones can fall into that category because they take up so much valuable time that could be used learning a musical instrument, reading a book, watching some content that would help you become a better person, exercising, setting goals, cleaning up your room, making your home better, whatever, building a business where you're serving customers and doing something good in the world. There are all these things that we could be doing. But if our time is distracted, we're not doing those things and our progress in life is stopped. So we're just at the beginning stages of dealing with this issue, both for myself and for my whole family. But I'm really already inspired and encouraged at what I've seen just on the first day. Now, I'm not saying we've won the battle because it will be a challenge and it'll be something that we're going to have to pay attention to. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this in today's episode, because sometimes when you talk about things publicly, it helps keep them, top of mind for yourself. I coined this phrase, PDA. PDA is typically people call it a public display of affection, and they're like, don't kiss and hug in front of me. I don't like that. That's gross. Well, I like the phrase public display of accountability. So if you can talk about things you're working on in your content, sometimes that helps. That helps you to stay accountable. But also, it can help other people who might be facing these similar issues. So I guess the challenge would be for everyone watching this video today. If you're a parent, check out your screen time. Pay attention to how much time you're spending on your phone. Is that time productive? I build an online business, so a lot of my screen time is well, some of it's productive, building a business online, maybe other parts of it, not so much. I do a lot of personal development on my phone. I listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So that's part of my screen time that maybe would be productive. But nonetheless, like, what are we doing on our phones? And is it moving our lives? Is it being a benefit to us? Is it being a benefit to someone else? And if not, maybe we can tone that down and be the example. And if you're a parent, I really want to issue the challenge to look at what's happening with your kids in these smartphones and don't turn a blind eye. Don't ignore it because it's hard, because that's what I've done. I mean, I've tried to work on this issue before, but it's hard and the kids push back and it seems so innocent and you've got other things to do. You've got a business to build. You've got, all these responsibilities. And so this is something that just can get, it's really easy to just push it back. But our kids are our futures. They're our futures. When our kids are young, that's when their brains are most open to teaching and coaching and guiding and sculpting. So I just want to issue a call to action to all parents out there. Give this some thought, give this some attention, and maybe make some changes in your house. I think it can be a really good thing. So that was the message today. I'm going to check the comments. I see a lot of comments coming in. Thank you so much for everyone who's tuning in and interacting. I am Paul Hutchings, and I do these lives every day, Monday through Friday, right around 11:11 Eastern Standard Time. If you got value from this content today, I'd love to encourage you to subscribe to me on social media. Also, you can subscribe to my email list and pick up a free gift in the process, paulhutchings.net/GIFTS. And my mission is to help people build freedom through principle-centered leadership. So I talk about, online business, personal development, disconnecting your time from your money, all the best ideas that have helped me to become financially free in my 40s, which I'm so thankful for. I really want to help others move in that direction. So that's what you can expect by subscribing to my email list. And with that, I'm going to stop talking and come into the comments here. So Arnita, hey, good to see you. Stephen Cornelius, thanks for tuning in live from Wisconsin. Good to see you. Nick Romani, what's up, my brother? Good to see you. Stephen Cornelius says, never feel that you're failing as a father. Just by communicating with your sons and being open to their ideas makes you an amazing father. Good for you. I appreciate that so very much. And yeah, I mean, I know I'm succeeding as a father in other areas and overall. But here's something to think about with parenthood. My dad left when I was 8 years old. So one of the things that I've told myself as a way to solace my parenthood is, Paul, you're there. I mean, you're here for your kids. You're beating your dad by a mile. And if you do nothing, Paul, but stick around for your kids and be there, you're a success. And I do think that's true. However, how high is your standard? How high is your bar? Being a parent maybe is a little more about just being there. Yeah, a lot of parents in the world are absent. A lot of parents leave their families. So yeah, if we're there, that's step number one. Be there for your family. Yes. But beyond that, what else can we do while we're there? So anyway, that was just a random thought you inspired, Steve. Thought I would share that. Caroline says, hi, I made it home from work and starting to cook for the whole family. Luckily, I'm a woman, so I can multitask a bit. Yes, awesome. Thanks, Caroline. I appreciate you being here. Ashley Casper says, I'm 100% here for this topic. Yay. Thanks for being here, Ashley. Nick says, that's a great thing to do. I went camping the other day for a few days. I had no choice but not use the phone because, yes, that's right. There was no cell service. There's no cell service, no Wi-Fi, so I really didn't have a choice, but it was great. Just my friend and I in the mountains of West Virginia, no notifications, no internet, nothing. It was a blessing in disguise. Went hiking, swimming, etc. I love it. Thanks for sharing that experience, Nick. Bill Fever says, good morning. Good morning, Bill. Ashley Casper says, I really love your definition of sin. Thank you so much. Ashley says, I get pulled into the scroll hole too in the name of learning. Me too. Guilty as charged. And I have to keep a check on it for sure. Ashley says, I missed the first few minutes of this, but you're not alone in this, Paul. Thank you for this today. I'll be back to watch the first few minutes. Awesome. I appreciate that, Ashley. Cynthia Talbot. Hey, Aunt Cynthia. Good to see you. She says, well said, Paul. I appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are well over there in Twin Falls. Ashley says, we never want to settle. Our kids drive us to always be the best version of ourselves. I get this. Amen. Yeah, amen. And thanks for being a great example of that, Ashley. And Nick says, you're an incredible dad. You have principles. Thank you so much. Now if I can just pass those principles along to my kids, that's a challenge. So anyway, guys, that was it. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I believe in you. I believe you have greatness within. I believe you have so many better things waiting for you in your future. I believe you are more powerful than you think you are. I believe you can do more than you think you can. And I just want to encourage you to open up to that. Allow the best of what's inside of you to come out in every way, starting with today. And I'll be back tomorrow for the next episode of The Good Part. So tune in if you want more with me. All right, guys, have a good one. Take care and bye.